To be a champion footy player, it helps to have the athletic weapons of size, strength and a mighty kicking boot. Hannah Mouncey certainly ticked those boxes and was in demand by the top clubs to play in the women's AFL. But the AFL said no. It decided she was ineligible for its competition because at 6'2" and weighing 100 kilograms, she was too much of a physical threat to her opponents. Now, while it might seem like a clear case of discrimination, it's not that simple. You see, Hannah wasn't born a girl, but a boy.
Up, Holly, nice and high.
For most athletes, being the toughest player on the team is a distinct advantage.
For Hannah. Good hands, Hannah.
But for Hannah Mouncey, her greatest strength is also her biggest weakness.
All I'm doing is being myself, which, you know, you'd hope 99% of the population are able to do every day, and play football, which people have done in Australia for 150 years. You know, those two things combined shouldn't be a huge issue.
At 6'2" and weighing 100 kilos, the Australian Football League has ruled that Hannah is too powerful to play in its elite women's competition.
Good hands, Hannah, great hands.
Because she was once a man.
I obviously don't agree with what the AFL has done.
Yep.
You know, there's a dozen girls within a couple of centimetres of my height, so I certainly wasn't the tallest.
Look at this, the AFL today has denied transgender athlete Hannah Mouncey eligibility.
Hannah is at the centre of a heated row over equality in sport.
Mentally, but physically she's still a man, and even when the
Victorian Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commission.
After the 28-year-old's attempt to become the first transgender woman to play in the AFLW was rejected last month.
A woman for all intents and purposes.
We've got one here that says, how is the decision unacceptable? It's a bloke in a dress.
Look, if that's what he thinks, I don't really care.
There is a chorus of opinion that believes that you've made this change because it's easier to be an elite athlete.
No one would, in their right mind, would do that. But look, when I transitioned, I thought I knew, but I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself into, absolutely none. You know, I lost pretty much all my friends. Bloody hard to get a job, and it's really difficult to find somewhere to live.
For the first 25 years of her life, Hannah was Callum, a male handballer who represented Australia and used sport to overcome his crippling social anxiety.
Even though I didn't really know it at the time, you know, all the trans stuff and your gender stuff, you can sort of compensate for it by being this extra masculine sort of creature, I suppose. I love the physical stuff, the really tough sort of physical contact stuff. But away from that, I'm not like that at all.
Is that a part of your life that you find difficult to talk about?
No, because the thing is, and a lot of trans people don't like talking about themselves before even any reference to it, but the thing is, you know, I did a lot of really cool things as Callum. I was a really good person.
Away from the game, Callum was struggling with his identity. 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with gender dysphoria, a condition where a person's gender is different to the body they were born in.
And that was tough because you're sort of going, I'm 80, 90, 95% sure, but until you go, okay, well, I'm going to even just walk around the block at 1:30 in the morning as a female and see how comfortable you feel.
So is that what you did?
Yeah, it was literally like 5 minutes outside, pray there's no cars coming, and then run back in. It's a difficult thing because the first time you do it, you go, Jesus, I look stupid, and I feel like an idiot. But you know, you just sort of have to do it.
Were you more attracted to females or males at that
Oh
point?
yeah, girls for sure, and still am. You know, and that's something people don't really understand, is gender identity and, you know, sexuality, they're completely different.
Callum made the difficult decision to start hormone replacement therapy and send his body into puberty, this time as a woman. What did you have to do?
Essentially, look, I take 4 pills a day, you know, estrogen and anti-androgen, and that's pretty much it.
but she decided against gender reassignment. Have you finished the transition?
Oh, look, I am transitioned. Some people will go, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of cosmetic surgery and, you know, reshape their jaw and, you know, have surgery on their voice box and get breast implants and all sorts of stuff. You know, I'm definitely not going down that path.
In 2015, Callum said goodbye for the last time. And in his place came Hannah. Lucas Hayden has known both of them.
It's a typical Australian friendship.
Taking the piss out of each other, I think.
Like any loyal friend, he supported her throughout it all.
Yeah, did only have two T-shirts for about 8 years of his life. I'm glad that she has some nice new clothes because that actually made me happy.
They're knockabout mates who love talking sport and life over a pub lunch. Bit of a larrikin?
Yeah, tries to be.
I'd go with Bogan.
Yeah, Bogan's
You reckon
probably,
you're
yeah.
a bogan?
Oh, mate, so, yeah, I'll claim it.
Let's just,
Shoes are optional.
So you're not a girly girl then?
Not overly. I mean, the thing is I'm, you know, my interests and stuff are all still the same, and I think it's one of those...
While Hannah has become hardened against verbal abuse she attracts, Lucas is still new to the strange looks and snide comments. Do you get quite defensive over that?
Yes, very. I have a friend, simple as that. And it's Hannah's been my friend, Callum was my friend. They've both been my friend, they both will be my friend, they both will be forever. And I don't want my friend getting hurt.
With Lucas's support, Hannah was ready for her next challenge, playing sport as a woman. And this year she joined the ladies' comp for Ainsley Football Club in Canberra. What's she like to coach?
Yeah, she's good. She's good.
She give you any lip?
No, one of the many that don't, which is, but she's got a big, broad smile and, you know...
Chris Rourke is the tough-as-nails head coach at Ainsley. He admits he was initially apprehensive, but says he's heard no complaints from Hannah's teammates or competitors. What concerns did you have?
Oh, the size, obviously, you know, as everybody's pointed out, but once she got out there and we saw her play, there was no hesitation in letting her play.
How would you describe her skill level?
Average. She's got nice solid hands, which is good, and she could develop into a really good power forward, but she's got a lot of work in front of her.
How do you find going up against the women?
Look, they're tough. They rip in. They give as good as they get, as you'd expect. You know, they're just as passionate about it. So, you know, it's been great. And male, female, whatever, common threads don't change. Because you got a bit more grip on the ball, when I go to release the ball...
Hannah needed to relearn everything, from holding the smaller football...
Took a bit of getting used to. The weight of the ball is different, so...
...to powering her bigger body with no testosterone. You ever get nervous in front of goal?
Yeah, pretty much any set shot I take, because I'm not that great at it.
I reckon you might be all right.
Yeah, ask the girls I played with.
It seems to be working.
Oh,
that's too easy. And today, she's giving me a few pointers.
Instead of looking at throwing up, you just sort of drop it onto your boot.
Okay.
Oh, nice. That's through.
Her talent is obvious, and it wasn't long before professional clubs took notice and asked her to try out for the AFLW, a new National Women's League.
When someone rings you and says, we think you're good enough, would you be interested? You sort of take that on board and go, well, okay, sure, I'll give it a go. So I went down to Melbourne and trialled with Melbourne and, you know, met with Collingwood and the Bulldogs and, you know, just sort of went from there.
A new career had formed where she could be herself in a sport she loves. Hannah was elated until the unthinkable happened. For months, AFL administrators assured Hannah she could play in the new Women's League. Then, on the eve of the draft, they had a change of heart. Suddenly there were concerns over Hannah's size and strength and the safety of the other players. But here's a contradiction. The AFL has no problem with Hannah taking to the field in Canberra's local league. Do you accept the AFL's argument that you do have a size advantage over some of your opponents?
I think the biggest issue is not necessarily that I'm too big or too strong now. It's more, okay, you're already big, you're already strong, whatever, but what if you were to get into that elite training environment and they were to build you up, put on an extra 15 kilos and you just push everyone aside. But physiologically, that's just not going to happen.
The people who seem to have the biggest problem with this is male administrators, but the female competitors haven't raised their voices at all.
Lisa Watson knows better than most what Hannah's going through. She's a doctor who specialises in transgender health issues and is also a transgender athlete. After 2 years of hormone replacement therapy, she says Hannah's body has no residual benefits from her time as a male.
Prior to her transitioning, she had a V8 motor powering this big muscle frame. Now she's transitioned and her testosterone level has dropped and her muscle mass has decreased and her strength and stamina has decreased. She's now got a little 4-cylinder engine, so she's actually at a physical disadvantage.
Dr. Watson suspects there are other, more sinister factors at play.
I'm just wondering whether they did not want to have someone like Hannah representing their new league. They wanted a presentable, beautiful female who could be the face of AFLW. A trans woman may not be what they desired.
I think they wrestled in good faith with a fairly unique dilemma.
Melbourne journalist Chip Legrand has been covering Aussie rules for more than 20 years. He says the standoff has highlighted the need for all sports to develop a transgender policy.
Hannah Mouncey is the first, but she isn't going to be the last transgender woman to want to play football. So the AFL knows it has work to do because this is absolutely a discriminatory policy. I guess the question is whether it's fair.
The AFL prides itself on being inclusive and recently supported same-sex marriage, raising questions of hypocrisy. But the organisation refused to be interviewed about the decision.
If Hannah Mouncey was a 5'8", 180-pound woman wanting to play football, there probably wouldn't be a problem. It really is because she is just, an unusual proposition in terms of her physical strength and size at the moment.
For now, the AFL has left the door open for Hannah to potentially make next year's draft when she's 29. But with elite players typically retiring around the age of 30, time is running out.
It's difficult. It's even been to the point where I've gone, look, if I could just make this better for everyone else and have all my friends back, would I just go back to me and Callum? And the thing is, I just can't. It's something, I know that if I was to do that, I'd become just as miserable as I was before. It's not a choice. It just isn't. No one would choose that. I just sort of want to be able to be happy, That's pretty much it.
Like everybody else.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.